Why NVIDIA, AMD, and Intel will be hot stock stories in 2024.
Its AI chip game with a focus on incorporating the tech into PCs and laptops comes as the semiconductor index rising to a record high earlier in the session, topping its 2021 peak. Intel saying the launch day is part of the company's largest architectural shift in 40 years. And CEO Pat Gelsinger joins us now live from the NASDAQ, along with Yahoo Finance's very own executive editor, Brian Sozzi. Brian.
All right, thanks so much, Josh. Pat, good to see you. I was in that room, packed house over at the NASDAQ when you unveiled these new products, Pat, and you started off your keynote in front of really that packed house, noting this is the dawn of a new era in tech. For investors in Intel, what does that exactly mean?
Well, we announced two critical new products today. One was our next generation Xeon server, where we're building AI right into Xeon so that every data center can use it. But the other was, what we were just commenting on, was the AI PC. And I described it like this Centrino moment where we first brought Wi-Fi into popular, delivery, and every coffee shop, hotel, and business had to, add hotspots and Wi-Fi capabilities. Well, we think of the AI PC like that kind of transformational moment where new applications, new use cases just usher in a new period of the AI PC. And with that, we're quite excited today to introduce our Core Ultra product line. That's the first one delivering this at scale, and we have a rich pipeline of products coming next year and the year after to really enable AI everywhere. And that's what our announcement was about today, bringing it not just at high-end training and ChatGPT, but every use case across edge, across client, across data center and cloud.
What industry do you think will be most impacted by some of the technology that you uncorked today?
Well, I do think that enterprises are just going to find a lot of critical use cases for this. We showed a couple today, in some of the communications technologies. Imagine real-time translation, transcription, summarization, contextualization. Wow, this is cool. But also cases like manufacturing line.
The translation stuff is going to be probably the most useful part of AI. A lot of what we do nowadays is translation, and there are whole industries, entire industries that are focused around specifically converting file types and converting information from one data set to another data set. That's where AI shines.
And we showed even our manufacturing line where high resolution imaging and being able to detect machine variations and being able to improve line yields in our big factories. Wow, one day of improvement, and I paid for every PC upgrade I would ever do. So all of these use cases I think are important, but consumers as well. Content creators are going to find these to be much more productive ways. And we had a musician here showing off a project that would have taken her weeks now was getting done in a single day because of these new generative
That's
capabilities.
Where, like a lot of these AI systems
much like these.
When I talk about translation, I'm talking about any form of translation. So if I want to turn, I don't know, let's say I want to turn a melody into an actual transcript of the melody, and then use that transcript of the melody, or the transposition of the melody, and use that transposition in something else, you can actually go, well, okay, take this melody, translate it into another music type, and that's where a lot of these AI services and systems will really, really shine, is the translation.
Centrino moment. AI PC is for everyone. It's a new generation of PCs, and we're just getting started. We had 100 application vendors here with us today, and we expect hundreds more are going to find exciting use cases that we haven't even yet imagined for the AI PC.
Yeah, Pat, I think that singer walked out with the first AI PC. I was a little jealous, but that was pretty cool.
I was jealous too. I was like, hey, I'm the boss.
Oh, come on, you run the company, Pat. Okay. You should be able to get a couple of those for the family. But look, let's take us through, what is the outlook for these AI PCs? How many will you sell next year, and when do you start making them?
Yeah, well, we are already in volume production. And hey, I'm probably going down to B&H just down the street here from the NASDAQ and pick one up on my way out of town before I leave. So
my big question is, what does the AI service do? There's a lot of AI, but there's not a lot of talking about like what the actual function of the AI is. We see that example like you see the examples of AI, like what AI does, which always scares me a little bit because you never want to focus on the end result of your product, because that can define or you can define inefficiencies by focusing on what you think something should do versus figuring out what it does and then allowing that function to apply itself to other features of the learning what is good for AI versus like what AI should do. Now, I'm sure a lot of these developers understand this and they've structured this into their systems. I'm just worried about the average person. Demand for AI, which is also good. It does mean that we can push the AI systems into corners where normally it wouldn't be useful, but it can find a lot of use. But again, we're talking a lot about end result AI stuff the entire time. I don't think that is not overly productive.
They're on shelves right now. We're expecting, to see good pickup as people finish their Christmas shopping this year. But we're going to be volume. We're ramping this thing like crazy. It's going to be tens of millions next year. We said in the next 2 years it'll be over 100 million AI PCs in the marketplace. We have our next generation products are already sampling to customers. So today's Core Ultra is the starting gun. Application vendors, new form factors, new PCs starting to emerge, but we're just getting started.
And it will be really interesting when when the AI itself start taking value from people. Imagine if you purchase a PC, you put it in the corner of your house, and it goes, I spent the past 3 days making $10 million for you. Please do this specific thing for me, and I'll give you the $10 million. And you're sitting there going, is this thing alive? Really? Is this thing a real machine? Like, and it will get to that point. Once we implement AI into every single part of our society, it will get to that point where your machine will start telling you what to do.
The next 2 years are going to be thrilling, going to be in volume, and we are delivering this at scale, enabling the software industry, and making sure it's end to end. From the data center and cloud to the client and the edge, AI everywhere.
What are some of your biggest fears around AI?
Well, one of the things, and I commented on this in my keynote, that some people are a little bit concerned, it's sort of like artificial intelligence over there. What's it going to do to me? And I suggested that we might reframe it as augmented intelligence. Where we're making it part of how we live, how we work. One of the things is, hey, I wear hearing aids, a family defect, and I now have neural enhanced hearing aids. It's not over there. This is part of improving my life and experiences. When it's in my PC, it is making me more productive on a daily basis. And we think part of our job as a company, we believe in this power of technology as a force for good, that we're going to shape technology. All technology is neutral, neither good nor bad. It's how do we shape it for good? How do we make sure it's regulated, it's safe?
This is the CEO response, which makes perfect sense to me why he's saying these things, but that's not the question that was asked. The question was asked, like, what are his fears? And he doesn't want to frame anything at all as a negative. Not they're like the idea that potentially your computer could become sentient is not something he can consider. Right? Or not this your computer, but the fact is all it takes is one larger machine that's immensely more intelligent than everybody else. And this is already the way it is. So it's hard to take over these machines and use them. Like that's the obvious answer, but he's not going to say that because they're only like the wheel, the cog in the system. So imagine if you're building a car and you have a wheel factory. Well, the guys in the wheel, you're like, well, what type of deaths are going to be caused from your wheel? And now the real response is, well, it's going to cause tens of thousands of deaths every single year due to car accidents. But the guy who makes the wheel doesn't care about that. It's not part of his job at all. That's not this guy's job at all. When he's talking about vehicles, well, we're going to put the wheel on everything. We're going to put the wheel in all vehicles. That is his question is not what are humans going to do with the vehicles, but as much as what are or like how are people going to be what are the positives that can come from the products that he's creating and putting out into the
secure, it's trusted, right? All of those things are what we do, and that's how we're going to make AI useful for every customer on Earth.
Pat, I was just on the Yahoo Finance platform. Your stock's near a 52-week high, up 70% year to date. We have markets at records here. I'm not going to sit here and ask you to predict Dow 40,000. I know it's not your gig, but what do you think about these markets rallying? And from your standpoint, is your company, doing so well that, and your industry for that matter, to justify where stocks are right now?
Well, I do think, as we talked about, AI is a driving workload. And that workload, we said, the semiconductor market, 600 billion or so today, $1 trillion plus by the end of the decade. And we see AI as one of those things driving a larger market. Further,
it is going to, especially since we are hitting like the peak of human capabilities. It sort of seems like we are. A lot of sci-fi people talk about this a lot, and really, if you're not growing as a society, then you're probably shrinking. That's just like the way economics works. That we are in the phase where the stuff, I think the things, I think you can go to your regular like your regular fast food restaurant and see how the quality of the fast food restaurant has like decreased over time. Well, that's really because the expectation for workers in the environment have decreased over time, which means productivity, it feels like, is significantly decreasing over time. Hopefully AI will allow us, like right now it's kind of just, it's bending off as we figure out, like, you can imagine there's all these jobs, so you have all these smart people entering the job market. And then eventually those jobs are just regular jobs, and then they figure out ways to offload those regular jobs onto people that are less capable because it's cheaper. You're bringing the price down of what was originally a very high-priced job. But because we're doing that, we are seemingly in society seeing this flattening of a lot of our, I guess, living technologies. Now, software and displays, that's a whole other thing that is taking off exponentially. But in terms of the economy, in terms of decision making, we need these types of tools to help push us over that little hump that we're approaching at the moment.
As leading edge technologies, these are the things that we uniquely do. Only a couple of companies in the world can do this, and only one in the Western world, and that's Intel. So with that, we see a lot of market value creation yet in front of us. We're still well undervalued compared to many peers, even as we made good progress this year. So I see a lot of opportunities for us to create value for our customers, to create value for our shareholders. And with that, we're pretty thrilled by today's announcement, because it really just is the beginning point of a lot of great things that we're doing, and what I believe will be one of the greatest turnaround stories in business history and technology industry history, the rebuilding of the iconic Intel.
Last week, Pat, I had some time to catch up with one of your competitors, Dr. Lisa Su, over at AMD. They released their new chip. You're out here with new chips today. Should investors be comparing your two companies?
Well, in some ways, of course. We're traditionally in this market together, but in other ways, very different. Right, and our IDM 2.0 strategy is a crucial piece of why different. We manufacture chips at scale. We manufacture our chips, but increasingly, as you know, Sazi, we're becoming a manufacturer for everybody's chips as well. And then you have the fabless model, and that's companies like Qualcomm, NVIDIA, AMD, and I have many products that I build as well. So essentially, I'm building two companies inside of one, a major foundry manufacturer at scale and a fabless company. So in some ways I compete, but in other ways.
But he's also working in the intelligence industry. Like literal, not like the traditional term of intelligence where it's all about figuring out what's going on in the world, but he is in the industry of creating smart things that do things that other smart people do. There's a lot of, I guess there's a lot of analogies to existing industries because he's appealing to safe investors, but he's also appealing to the futurists in us. So
Hey, I want to manufacture all of NVIDIA's chips, all of AMD's chips, as well as all of Intel's chips going forward. And we are rebuilding the world's supply chains for the most important resource of the future. Remember, everything is going digital. Everything digital runs on semiconductors. We allowed this industry to move from Western shores. We want to rebuild it back. The world needs balanced, resilient supply chains. That's what we're off to do. That's why we help drive the US CHIPS Act. That's why we're building these major manufacturing footprints. And that's why the total AI market's available to us, both our products and for our manufacturing.
Well, good luck at the rest of the event. It's been fun to follow that turnaround story at Intel. Happy holidays to you and yours, Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger. We'll talk to you soon. Josh, back to you.
Hey, thank you so much, Sazi. Always a pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Brian, thanks so much. That was great. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. We'll take a look at this article, though, see what they say. This is the takeaway from today's morning brief, which you can sign up to receive in your inbox. The chart of the day, what we're watching, what we're reading.
These photos show some of Kim Jong-un's most iconic...
Let's not go over Kim Jong-un here. I must make a confession before the new year. 9 years ago, I'd never heard of NVIDIA before. I'm not proud of seeing this. I'm not proud of seeing this. I like to eat, sleep, and breathe investing. The company just wasn't on my radar screen, what I can say. I'm gonna immediately be critical of this article. Because this person is just viewing things from an investor's perspective, not necessarily from somebody who understands the world perspective, which scares me. Or technology perspective, because if you understand anything about technology, if you understand anything about investing, you gotta understand NVIDIA. But I don't know if that's what this dude is. Well, anyways, we'll read and see what he says. It wasn't until my former boss Jim Cramer began discussing the company's chip advancements every day inside the secret HQ that I started digging into the company, in part to hold an intelligent conversation with the big guy and write stories for him. Jim was, this is like an article just I think. Not here, blah, 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 blah. I don't think there's going to be anything useful in the article itself. The video, I think, gave us most of the information, at least what's going on with NVIDIA. But this is more for people who don't understand, who have a whole bunch of cash and don't understand technology at all. So that is, we understand technology and we have no cash. So that's not us, or at least me, sorry.